This is Nintendo's extremely creatively titled family computer, Robot. Even Nintendo realized that they hadn't really given this a real name in Japan. In the Japanese version of Mario Kart DS, they've just called it by its model number, HVC012. This robot, known as R.O.B, the Robotic Operating Buddy in the West, might be the only reason we have Nintendo as a household name today. This was Nintendo's first programmable game console, the family computer, or Famicom. At some point they brought in this FF logo, which means Famicom Family, or Family Computer Family. Nintendo wanted to sell this in the USA right after the 1983 video game crash. Nobody was buying video games, to the point where the shops didn't even want to stock them. Nintendo knew if they tried to sell the Famicom in the States as it was, it would fail. The Famicom got a massive redesign into the Nintendo Entertainment System, or NES. It intentionally looked nothing like a game console and more like a videotape player or something like that, but a redesign alone was not going to be enough. In the end, it was this guy who saved the day. The video game market was in the hole, but toy sales was still strong. Robots were super popular in the 80s, and by primarily marketing the NES R.O.B bundle as an interactive robot toy and secondarily as an entertainment device, enough units were sold that by the time people realized that R.O.B is actually kinda average, the word was out that NES games didn't suck and the video game industry was back in the USA. But I haven't even said what it does yet, have I? This is a robot which watches the TV and plays NES with you. Kind of. Let's get it out of its coffin, shall we? And look at that, we've got Family Computer Robot down here in golden maroon. I love that color scheme. The head can tilt up and down to make sure it's pointing at your TV correctly. Around the back, we've got a curly cable to connect the body to the base. There's also the power switch down in here. The batteries go in the bottom down here. It takes 4 AA's. Now if I turn it on, it'll go through a little startup procedure. It needs to figure out what position it's in. It's finding its full right limit now, and then it'll go back to the center. It knows roughly how far that is, I suppose. Or maybe it has a home switch. We'll have a look at that later. So now it's ready to play. It knows what position it's in and it can move from there. But now we need the rest of the setup. First, I'm gonna get my HVC balls out so we can play Block. This game was called Stack Up in the US, and it's literally the same game. The US version of the cartridge actually has the Famicom cartridge circuit board inside it, plugged into an adapter. So you get to the title screen and it's called Block. Each game comes with its own little set of stuff. The game cartridge itself, paperwork. This one comes with its stacking blocks. Each one has chrome print on top with Nintendo and Block. They're made out of really weird stuff. It feels kind of like wax. It's really light. Kind of not really I don't know, it's a hard thing to describe. I feel like if you poured shampoo into a cup and let it dry out, this is what you'd get. You get 5 of these platforms which plug into R.O.B's stand. Those are where the blocks go. And you get 2 little hand shoes. They clip onto R.O.B's hands so that he can actually pick up the blocks. Manual cartridge flap on the Famicom. Game in, and wow, having the Famicom next to the R.O.B makes me really appreciate how much I need to find a whiter Famicom. Mine has yellowed. Let's see what, whoa, that's loud. Robot Block, 1985 Nintendo. Now the first thing we need to do is go into test mode. I'm not sure if it'll come through on the camera, but this screen is flickering horrifically. And that's because R.O.B has a light sensor in its left eye, which is actually the same sensor that's in the zapper gun, that it uses to watch the screen for flash patterns in black and green. At this screen, I have to adjust R.O.B's head until the LED on top starts blinking. And that means we're in business. The other options in this menu are the actual games. Direct, Memory, Bingo, Bingo 2-player. We'll go with Direct. It shows up here how you have to set it up to begin with. So with that corrected, my goal is to get all of the blocks to number 1 in the least number of moves and time as possible. Jumping on these arrows moves the robot around. So I want to go down, close the arms, up, left, down, 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 and I just realized I've done this the wrong way. For some reason I had it in my head that you could only move 1 block at a time, but you can move the whole stack. All I had to do was pick up the entire stack and move it to the other side, and I would have done it in time on par and all of that. I did that wrong. Back the other, there we go. Up higher. You can see each time I make a move, the screen flashes green afterwards. That's what Rob is looking at to find out what you've chosen. It's way too fast for humans to decipher, but each one of those series of flashes is one byte of information being sent to Rob. Look at that, I did it. I only spent 60 steps on a par 19. Now, the thing is, there's no feedback from Rob to the game, so whether you've actually passed the level or not is up to you to tell the game. I think I press start now. I'm not going to keep playing this game because it's about as exciting as you'd imagine, but the idea of this one is just to move the red block to the bottom of 2. I wonder if I can push start and say that I won it in 0 steps. I can. Well, let's win this one in 0 steps as well. I've skipped ahead to the 10th level to see if it gets much harder, and it's still not hard. You just move this one over here, green up to the top of there, and you're done. Phase 20. I thought that maybe eventually it might start restricting the number of platforms and get you to take some off, but so far, no. And I can still do this in my head very quickly. I just don't want to get Rob to do it because it takes ages. Let's try memory. Maybe that'll be more exciting. What you have to do in this game is pre-program all of the commands to make this pattern turn into this pattern, and then it'll play it out to see if you got it right. Hey, that's interesting. I accidentally quit out because I don't know the buttons, and the level's different now, so each time you play, phase 1 is not the same. Okay, that is a strange control configuration. A and B are to move left and right, and then you push right on the D-pad to choose it. I think down, 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 close, up, left, left, down, down, open, end. How do I do it? Do I push start? Ah. It didn't go down. This has ruined everything. It skipped a step. It didn't work. Wait, it's actually working. I gotta wait for this whole thing, so you gotta wait for the whole thing too. We're gonna see if it's working. Down. Down. Open. End. I win. Is it waiting for me to press start? It was. Okay, so this game is a little bit more interesting. I definitely prefer it to the other one. I could see myself playing this a bit. The last one on this cartridge is called Bingo. Okay, so there's a tower at the beginning, but the colors don't seem to matter, and I have to try and make it into this tower. Oops, I just told it that I finished the level. Let's try again. Okay, so basically I want to try and get this top block onto this platform. If I fill up an entire row, then the... Hey, don't you do that while I'm talking. So if a whole row is filled up, then it will perform the operation that lines up with it, which is left in this case. Or if a whole column fills up, like this pink thing's about to do, it's gonna do the same command that's left again that way, but it could be any command. So I have to try and stop my enemies from filling up the lines without getting hurt. While trying to make the correct commands go through to Rob to make the thing do the thing. So I need right. I need right again. Then I need down. Then I need close. Then let me just check what the pattern was again because I've forgotten. Oh no, I quit out. Select quits out of the game completely as soon as you press it. That's very, very annoying. I gotta reset Rob as well because otherwise it's not gonna be in the right spot. And it turns out I wanted B. B is pause, not start. And the reason for that only makes sense on the Famicom with 2-player games because the player 2 controller does not have a start button. No, don't open. Oh, it worked anyway. Okay, so you can just drop it. And that means I've finished the level and A and B are both paused. Start. Is that it? I did it. You know what? I actually like this game. I will have a look at the 2-player even though I have no friends to play with. Ah, cool. So you get to fight each other and I don't know how you can tell who is winning and who isn't. Oh, you know what I said about that only making sense in 2-player games because there's no start button? Well, the B and A buttons don't work for the player 2 controller anyway. Only the player 1 can do the thing like that. Oh, player 2 is so slow. So you can kick each other out of the place and then whoever got kicked out goes really slow for a while. I'm not really sure the goal of this is a 2-player game though. Okay, I can't be bothered getting Google Translate out, but I reckon I can get through this. I can read katakana, which is the English words that are in Japanese. This says controller 1 has tray number 1 and 2, controller 2 has tray numbers 4 and 5. And with this saying compete for blocks, I think player 2 is trying to get all of the blocks into 4 and 5, player 1 is trying to get them all into 1 and 2. The idea is that both players are trying to operate the control grid and disassemble this phallus to get all of the blocks into their own area. Also, according to the manual, this is Professor Hector and this is Professor Vector. Apparently these enemies are bugs and their names are Flipper and Spike, although Flipper doesn't feature in 2-player. Next we've got HVC guys, Gyro. The US version is called Gyromite, but again it's identical to the Japanese version and also has a Famicom cartridge plugged into an adapter inside the NES cartridge. There's all sorts of interesting weird things in here. What's any of this stuff all about? I will show you. Well, these are gyros, aka spinning tops. They've actually got a bearing in the top, which is kind of cool. We get 2 of those. They sit on top of these things. We've got a battery operated spinamajig thing that takes the chongasest of the roundy boys, the D battery. When the gyros fall on top of this thing, it starts spinning and it will spin them right up to speed. It has a warning on the side, which I can't read, but probably says definitely touch the spinning thing. This one comes with hand shoes as well. This time special ones to hold the gyros in. Oh, that didn't work. And then we've got this weird thingamathing. Aside from the color of the plastic, this is the only part which is different from the version released outside Japan. And that's because you have to give it the Player 2 controller, and Famicom controllers are a unique shape. In this game, Rob does actually give some information back to the console by pressing these buttons, which just push the button on the controller. And most importantly, actually everything's important, the Gyro game cartridge. How's this for a setup? In this one, the direct mode literally just moves Rob around. You can do whatever you want. There's no challenge here. So let's go straight for 1-player game A. In this game, there are colored pillar door things like this. And what happens is when these buttons get pressed, the doors activate. But you're not allowed to touch it with your hand, that's cheating. We gotta push start, then we gotta move Rob over to pick something up. Oh, you gotta push start before each command. Start, close. Start up, start left, start down. Yay! Now I can get through. Oh, I got a bomb. What's the turnip for? I don't know. Is it a turnip or a radish? Could go either way. Oh, I did. At least I should start with that gate open because Rob's already in the right spot. It's okay, I don't want to see the whole level every time I die. Can I jump? I can't jump. Okay, so I have to lift up the gyro. Oh no, I don't want the enemy. Oh, the enemies eat the whatever vegetable that is. And that's it. That's what they do. No, 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 no! Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. I've got to move fast. Over to red. Down. Yeah. I wonder if collecting the bombs is disarming the bombs. I wonder if this place is rigged to blow and we're trying to rescue it. Oh, I have to drop from the top for that. Not having a jump is a bit terrible. Yeah, I was disarming the bombs. That's kind of fun. But what about all the spinny gizmo and then being a spinning top and having 2 gyros and all that stuff? What's going on there? Why aren't we using any of that stuff? Well, it turns out you got to get to, I think, level 4 because I got to open both of these gates at the same time. And if I just put this gyro down, then let go of it, it's... Okay, hold on. Up again. Yeah, it falls off. And then the gate closes again. So we got to put one of the gyros on the spinner, and I'm going to make you wait through how long this takes to get up to peak speed. At least we got some fun music in the background that I hope is not copyright. It probably is copyright, so I guess I'll just ramble throughout this spinning up. It's still spinning up. It's still speeding up. As soon as it stops increasing in pitch, that means that it's at speed. So far, you know, actually, I think it might be there already. I put a pretty beefy battery in here. It wasn't a cheap one. Move it across. Put it down. Put it down some more. Open up the hands, and it stays there on the platform. So now things are going to start getting a little bit hectic because I've got to do all of this and then pick up the spinning one again before it slows down and falls off. Thankfully by now I'm pretty used to the controls. I don't have to really think about it, and I don't have to spin up the second gyro either. I'm through. And I finished the level. Oh no, now I can't put commands through. Well, I'm sure it won't fall off by the next level. I wonder how long it does take to fall off. Maybe we'll just leave it there and find out. Oh, I'm dead. There's really no danger of you taking too long and that thing stopping. You've got plenty of time to get back to it and pick it up again. Oh, we're wobbling. We're wobbling, wobble, wobble. There we go. I was hoping that those arms would catch it before it lands on my desk and then transfers red all over the gyro. I don't know how long it was at the moment, but it's however long I've got on the screen right now. That's how long it took. Plenty of time to solve your puzzle and move on to the next area. I wonder how two-player game A would work. Oh, okay, it's turn-based. So you both take turns playing one player and see who gets the highest score, basically. Lastly, we have game B. Is that a book? No. Oh, I'm already playing. So I'm controlling Rob and Dr. Hector's just doing Dr. Hector things. I think he's sleepwalking. Is that what that's supposed to be? Does that mean that brown thing is his bed? I'm gonna do some cheating because Rob is slow and it's only really interesting once the gyros are spinning anyway, so I'll get him that far. You don't even need Rob. You can just use the player 2 controller to open and close the gates. The game's a lot less interesting doing it that way though. Wait. Did I just get him to sleepwalk to a different bed? That is a dubious activity while sleepwalking. Wow, this game starts off boring. Well, I have to use both the gyros now, so I guess I'll play this level properly. Wait a minute, I don't need to do a spin? What a waste of time. All I gotta do is just put this one down and then put it back up again, and that's it. If you use the red one, that's leading to death. I'm on level 6, and so far, this game is so boring. No, that wasn't enough notice. That's just rude. You gotta just know that that's coming. Yeah, fantastic. What an elaborate dying sequence. I've never seen anyone do sleep parkour before. I'm at level 9 and I haven't had to spin up a gyro yet. I feel like at this point, if I stuff something up, it's because I've fallen asleep. Literally yawning. Halfway through level 10, have not pressed a single button yet. Oh look, that's the end of the level. I didn't press anything because the blue button was already pressed down. And my GoPro's just whinged and died. Fantastic. Yep, GoPro's overheated. Good excuse to cut to an interesting part of this game if it exists anyway. Look at this. 15 levels of boring misery later, and we've gotten to our first spot that needs the gyros to be spun up. I'm sorry if I'm not enthusiastic. I am about to fall asleep. Spin up the spinny spin. Put down the thing. Go get the other one. Close on the other one. Lift the other one up. Put down the other one. Okay, good. Peak excitement for this game. Even though there's a possibility this game gets better from here because you have to use both the gyros and deal with the timing of the thing running out and all of that sort of stuff, I'm over it. I don't want to play anymore. This isn't even more interesting anyway. It's the same thing again. Good. Now if I wanted to continue that, I would have to play through those 15 levels again. It is not a good start to a game. It needs to start off more fun than that. I understand that perhaps they're going for being able to be played by kids, but man, that's boring. Now we're gonna look at some guts. Head first, I reckon. What's in here? Oh, the wiring's very tight. I think we've gone from the wrong end. I guess we'll try butt first. Okay, we can't see a lot yet. There's a circuit board here which does some things. Battery compartment and a rusty looking motor in there, which is encouraging. This is the drive unit that moves Rob from side to side. Gonna open it up for you, but it's entirely possible things are gonna spring out everywhere. Although no, they didn't. And wow, there's a lot of gear reduction in here. I'm not about to count the ratios, but turning the gear at the input barely turns the output gear at all. That means this electric motor's spinning super fast to get any movement out of Rob at all. It's no wonder he moves so slow. This part here is actually a clutch, and it's one of the failure points for these mechanisms. The gear itself is connected to the output shaft with a spring mechanism holding tension. It's so that if Rob jams or if someone holds it still, or even when it just gets to the end of its travel, the clutch can slip so it doesn't overload the motor or chew off any gear teeth. So it needs to be able to slip, but it is also important that it can grip. So if you're lubricating one of these mechanisms, you don't want to grease that clutch. I normally keep stuff like this operating as original, so if it's not lubricated from the factory, I won't lubricate it, but some of these shafts are actually rusting a bit, so I might have to lubricate this one. When I do lubricate stuff like this, I use lithium grease that I got from a remote control car shop. Down in here there's a position switch, so Rob does know what rotational position it's in. It looks like there are 5 positions which close the switch as Rob rotates, which is consistent with the number of platforms that Rob has to pick up from. On the other side of this circuit board, wow, there's a bunch of stuff on here. We've got 3 motor controllers here, which makes sense because there's 3 different movements that this thing can make. We've got a custom Nintendo chip here labeled RFC CPU 10, which controls everything, and the other parts are all just passive components to make those work. I'm very happy that the main wiring has got connectors on it. It means I can take things apart much more easily, and with that unplugged, I reckon we can take his head apart. There's a paper thing here which makes sure that Rob's looking at the screen and not the surrounding areas. It's interesting that it has 2 eye holes, even though Rob only actually has 1 working eye, but I reckon it's just so that they could put the cardboard either way up and it wasn't going to cause a problem. There's no electronics in this eye assembly. There is this weird mask thing though, which is kind of what I thought that was doing. Both of Rob's eyes have lenses in them, even though only one's working. I expect that's just so that they look the same from the front. I wonder if we can look through Rob's eye. We kind of can! Look at that, we're looking through Rob's own face at the inside of his head. If we look through where Rob's face is supposed to be, this is the actual eye here. This photo sensor is only capable of seeing whether there is light or isn't light. And this chip here is to demodulate that light signal into something that the main chip in the bottom can understand. Next, we've got to get Rob's spine out. With those screws out, the base comes off, the whole... There we go, that's his backbone out of here. And with that removed, I should be able to squeeze in these 2 tabs gently, very gently. I don't know how brittle this plastic's gonna be after 1 billion years. And Rob's torso comes off. I can already see that there's a button in here which falls into these gaps to tell Rob how far up and down it is. I'm thinking maybe that's why it still worked, even though it didn't move down properly when I was playing block. 6 more screws out of the torso. I'm always worried pulling things apart like this that have lots of gears in them. But Rob seems to be assembled pretty well. Nothing explodes when you remove the covers. We've got 2 more of the same kind of motor we saw before. This one drives Rob's torso up and down, and this one opens and closes Rob's arms. They also both have these clutch assemblies so that you don't overload the motor or whatever. But other than that, I'm not really going to touch this because I don't want to desync the arms. If one of these ends up one gear tooth out from the other, then it's not going to work properly until I take it all apart again and fix it. So now that Rob's corpse is strewn all over my desk, I think we're done. As far as actual gameplay, pretty average. But that didn't matter. The Rob served its purpose. It got NES consoles into stores and into people's homes. Even today, Rob is still well known and a popular collector's item. Quiet you! Even today, knowing it's an average experience, if you're a collector and you don't have one of these, I'll bet you want one. I sure want that grey one. And that's it, the Nintendo R.O.B, or in this case, Family Computer Robot. If you want early ad-free access to all my videos and a photo of every single thing I get for my collection, you can join me on Floatplane for $2.50 a month. Or if you just want to see those photos, you can join me for $1 a month and you'll still be just as much of an appreciated part of my community. The link's in the description, I'll see you there.